There is a reason why you see more and more people expressing less and less of who they are. There is a reason why you see that people are afraid to express their ideas and opinions and thoughts. There is this word that's been tossed around and we hear it a lot, but I don't know that we really understand the gravity of the meaning. And these words are cancel culture. And I bring this up not to rehash a bunch of old conversations, but to really paint the picture and describe what this does and is doing to you and I personally. I was watching over the weekend this interview that Diane Sawyer did with the Turpin Girls. These two girls were 2 out of 15 children that were rescued from a home where they experienced atrocious abuses and just extremely horrible living conditions. And I was looking at some of the comments below this interview, and a lot of these comments underneath said something like, "Are you ever going to apologize for the Britney interview?" And if you have ever watched the Britney interview that Diane Sawyer did years and years and years ago, she is highly criticized for how she treated Britney in this interview. And it really made me think about how comments like that inhibit us from sharing and doing and being in today. And I'm going to bring this all together here. When I say that, sometimes we hold back from really expressing how we feel, our thoughts, ideas, opinions, and putting those out in the world on social media and on the internet because we fear that maybe 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road, as we grow and develop as humans and develop new ideas and more mature ways of thinking, we may be ostracized and criticized and just raked over the coals because maybe 10 years prior, we had a thought based on where we were at that point in our lives. And that is the danger of cancel culture. When we crucify people over thoughts that they had 10 years ago and 20 years ago that may be vastly different from where they find themselves now because life experience changed them, or being exposed to new ideas, new people, just the growth and development that happens over the course of a lifetime with most of us. But when we create a culture where you're shamed for an idea that you had years and years and years ago, and you have people that are actively searching through your social media for something that they can use to throw you under the bus that you may have said in your college years, high school years, in a private conversation, we create this culture of intimidation, shame, and fear. And that is, I'm sorry, but a society cannot thrive under those conditions. And so it really got me thinking about how, when we see this happening to celebrities and people that are well known, it makes us who are not at the celebrity level really start to worry, maybe I shouldn't share that. Maybe I shouldn't say that, because you might be worried that you're going to start a Twitter controversy or just a ton of engagement and comments that produce a lot of hate and vitriol. And what I think ultimately this really does is rob people of the value of growth and development that comes over years and experience and developing out ideas and opinions. Because I'm sure that some opinions that you had 10 years ago are completely different than some of the opinions you have today, because life taught you a new worldview and a new perspective. But if you're never allowed to share that, and there's always this worry and concern over, gosh, maybe I shouldn't teach or share or express how I feel because maybe I'll grow over time and then realize that I don't feel that way anymore. You can rob yourself of that actual growth that comes from verbally expressing and sharing and having conversations that aren't steeped in shame and condemnation. And just kind of as a side note to this, I think, when we put celebrities on a pedestal that says that they need to come and apologize for every little thing that they did 10, 15, 20 years ago, I think that is probably putting more emphasis on whether or not we are getting our worldview from a celebrity. I don't know about you, but I don't look at the biggest celebrities in the world, even the biggest thought leaders in the world, and feel like, I probably agree with everything they say. I don't think that at all. And I would venture to guess a lot of people hearing me right now probably don't think like that. You can follow someone and gain something from someone's teaching without having to agree with absolutely everything that they say and do. And honestly, I am not impacted or influenced or affected by someone's apology for something that they said 10, 15, 20 years ago. And why I'm not affected is because I don't put those people on a pedestal to think that they have all of the answers and that they're not allowed to grow and develop over time and change their thought perspective. If they want to choose and come out on their own and talk about that, then by all means, they should do that. But this pressure that there constantly is to apologize, I think is steeped in a deeper issue of putting people on pedestals and demanding perfection from them. And then this even deeper idea that people should be shamed for developing a better worldview as time goes on. And so I just wanted to lend my voice to this discussion because I really have a disdain for cancel culture. And not because I think that every voice is valuable and every idea or opinion is steeped in incredible value and should be shared, but because when we only live in an echo chamber or we only allow certain voices to be heard and elevated, we rob ourselves of the joy and growth that comes from conversations that are not steeped in shame and condemnation. Not to mention, I think cancel culture really shouts that we as humans aren't capable of judging and evaluating for ourselves whether or not there's an opinion that's being said that is of value to us or one that we agree with. Like, we're not capable of judging that for ourselves. We have to have somebody else judge for us and then allow us to hear whatever opinions or thoughts have made it through the filter. I don't need anyone else to create that filter for me. I can be a judge of the values and opinions and ideas that I think have merit. And like I said, I know this conversation has exhausted itself, but I think it's worth revisiting. Cancel culture is not healthy. It breeds and creates shame, condemnation, fear. And ultimately, if I can go back to my earlier statement, it creates this fear from really fully expressing who God has designed you to be, your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions, just everything about you. It causes you to start to pull inward and only share in your inner circle versus maybe putting ideas out there that are great and amazing for the masses. But you're afraid to do that because, hey, what if in 10 years you find that maybe you were just a little bit off and you needed to make some pivots in how you viewed the world and how you expressed yourself? And if cancel culture is a culture of condemnation, fear, and shame, I don't want anything to do with it. And that's just where I stand on it. I think it's a conversation worth revisiting and continuing to have over and over again. So let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on cancel culture?